Good evening friends, I am Gopi Krishna from Glorious IAS Academy. Today we will discuss about the 4 labor codes. As you must be aware, in 2024 also UPSC asked a mains question on this. It asked what are the positives and negatives of labor codes and what is the status of implementation of it. So it's a very important topic and UPSC tends to repeat questions on important topics also. Today we will discuss about this. First of all, before going into the 4 new labor codes, why the new labor codes requirement is there? Why the labor reforms are required in India? So first reason is labor is a concurrent subject. Both center and states can legislate on the subject. Center has around 29 labor laws, and combined with all the different state laws, we have more than 200 laws on labor in India. So it's very difficult for the employers to follow all the rules. If a company has branches in different states, they have to follow different rules. They don't have uniformity. So it is a very cumbersome process. There is no ease of doing business. That is one of the reason, and center is trying to unify them, merge these laws into 4 categories. We will see what are they. And another problem is what is the problem with the Indian manufacturing sector? As we can see, India jumped from agriculture. The majority of GDP was coming from the agriculture, and suddenly it shifted to services sector. Now majority of the GDP comes from the service sector, but usually there will be an organic growth. Countries grow from agriculture to manufacturing, then to service. We basically jumped. There are various problems with India's manufacturing sector. That is the reason. And one of the in the manufacturing sectors also, the labor loss is a big problem. If you can see in India, we have very few large companies. That is the companies which are owning greater than 500. Which have more than 500 workers. There are very few of them, and a large number of having 10 to 20 workers, and we have something called missing middle. The middle firms which have 100, 200, 300, we don't have much of that. One of the reasons is to do with our draconian labor laws. The labor laws prevent the employer from firing the workers. Suppose if a factory has more than 100 workers, they cannot fire or retrench the workers without the approval of the government, which is a very cumbersome process. So because of that, what these manufacturing companies do, they have small units rather than a big unit, so that they can avoid these laws. So because of that, what is happening? We don't have economies of scale. We need economies of scale. Where economies of scale means the products are produced on a bulk scale. Because of that, you can get a cheaper product, and investment also high can be invested in that, and technological innovations also can be done. All those things are missing in our manufacturing sector. If we see average number of workers in the formal manufacturing sector in India, it is close to 60. 60 workers are there on average. But if you see Indonesia and China, the number is very high. For China, it is considered to be around 190. For Indonesia, it's 160. So basically, when more number of workers are there and bigger units are there, the economies of scale will evolve, which leads to a lot of efficiency. So that is missing, and to resolve all these problems, we need labor reforms. And there were very draconian provisions of old labor laws. So the old labor laws had some of the provisions like, suppose the employer doesn't whitewash the factory, he may be fined. In some cases, he may be imprisoned also. That is a level of loss. That is for the workers' protection and safety, no doubt. But it is also restricting the employers, and it is putting the burden on the employer. So because of all these problems, we want to remove all the draconian laws. Then only we can attract a foreign investment. We can promote ease of doing business, because the employer also should be given some leeway, and the punishment should be proportional to the mistake made. It cannot be disproportional. And in the old labor laws, they have to maintain multiple registers to, because they have to obey different laws, which is also very cumbersome for the employer. So to rectify all this labor reforms are being done. They are really, remarkable and revolutionary for India's manufacturing sector, because we had socialistic norms, and we had, very strong presence of trade unions, strikes. And so basically labor reforms are trying to balance on one hand ease of doing business for the employers to the owners, and also it tries to promote worker safety also. Basically it is trying to balance both. And through labor reforms, we want to improve ease of doing business, attract business, and promote workers welfare also. We want to attract investment also. So with these labor reforms, definitely India can make a forward step in the direction of the positive. So there are 4 labor codes. They have been organized into 4 categories. One is the code on wages. Basically in this, the provision of regulation of wages and bonuses is given. Center will decide a floor wage. Floor wage means nobody can go below this. It will be a uniform rate for the entire country, but based on the different geographical factors, center can notify different rates. But it will be a floor wage and nobody can go below that. However, there will be a minimum wage also. Minimum wage will be decided by the states or appropriate authorities based on the skill required, geographical conditions. So, but minimum wage cannot go below the floor wage. That is the relationship between the floor wage and minimum wage. And it defines a wage also, and it defines that wage has basic pay, DA, dearness allowance, and retaining allowance. And it also says the other allowances. Some companies, what do? They give higher proportion of other allowance, like house rent allowance and conveyance allowance, and that is done if the other allowance is it says it cannot cross more than 50%. Why some companies give other allowance greater than 50%? We have to understand this. Suppose if other allowances are more, what happens is the employer's contribution and employee contribution for the PF, basically the social security funds, the employer's contribution and the employee's contribution will reduce. So because of that, they will structure the wage in such a way the other allowances will be greater than 50%. So to prevent this, to promote the workers' welfare, Government of India is bringing this labor code which says it cannot cross 50%, so that they will have pension allowance in an appropriate amount. This is about code on wages. And then we have occupational safety, health and working conditions code. Basically it promotes the safety of the workers. Basically it specifies working hours, more than 8 hours they cannot be made to work. If made to work, they have to be given over time allowance, and the number of leaves have to be mentioned, and working condition norms should be there, like separate toilets for men and women, and various other facilities like creches, so that it promotes working women. And duties of the employer in respect of workplace safety are kept in place. So it is the duty of the employer to ensure the safety of the workers. He should ensure that hazardous environment is not there and safety equipment is promoted to the employee. And contract labor, contract labor, if they are made, if they are doing the same work as a formal labor, they have to be paid the same level, so that contract labor, they are also protected. And women workers, the code specifies that women can work in any sector provided they have their consent. And migrant workers, they are also protected. Migrant some allowances should be given if they are going to the other states, and whatever the benefits they are getting, it has to be continued in the other state also. And mandatory health checkup should be maintained for the workers above 45 years, so that their health is promoted, and committees should be there to ensure that all the conditions are mentioned. So this is about the second labor code. And the third labor code is the code on social security. So basically the social security benefit of all employees and workers is included, including unorganized sector. Basically this promotes universalization of social security. Basically in India, in the informal sector, there is no social security is being promoted. Only formal sectors, they get for whatever health insurance or accidental insurance or pension benefits, PF gratuity, all those things are available only to the formal employees. But the code aims so that everybody, even the informal sector, the gig workers, everybody should come under this social security net, so that during the hard times, this can give them the required safety and security. And a social security fund should be maintained, and all the money, the governments and also employers contribute to the fund, and this fund will promote the safety of the employees. This is about code on social security. And the third is industrial relations code. Basically it is about relations between the employees and employer. And so basically in the ease of doing business, previously any company, factory with more than 100 workers, they cannot lay off or retrench the workers without government approval. Now that limit has been increased to 300. Now if you have more than 300, they have to take approval. Otherwise below 300, no approval is not required. It will promote the formalization of employment. It will promote more investments to come. It will also promote the economies of scale to an extent. And a new fixed term employment is introduced. What does it mean is, while employing itself, you can designate for a seasonal employment, you can say employment will be given only for 6 months. So after 6 months, when the worker is let go, it won't be treated as laying off. It won't be treated as firing the employee. So this will promote, it won't come under this section also. So this will promote a flexibility for the employer for hiring, because different requirements will be there for different sectors. So for some sectors, you can't hire a worker for 360 days. So for this, what is happening is, normally they will engage a contractor or casual labor. Now employer can engage a formal labor also, and he can let go the employee once the term is ended. So it is positive win-win for both the employee and employer. And no contract labor in core activities. So for the core activities, you cannot have a contract labor. For peripheral activities like cleaning activities, all those things, you can have contract labor, but for the main activity, you cannot engage a contract labor. You shall engage formal employment only, so that you can give employment, because in contract labor, safety won't be there for the worker. And 14-day notice period for the strikes is given, so that the companies are not shackled with the strikes, and it is continuously working. Basically it will reduce the number of strikes. And another condition is laid that 51% of the staff, if they are part of the trade union, then only the trade union can negotiate with the managers, otherwise it can't. So basically it will some companies have many trade unions, it will cause much of problems, so it is reducing this also. So this is about 4 labor codes, my friends. So basically, this is a very important reform in the labor sector of India. It is a landmark reform. It is a revolutionary reform. Basically, Government of India has prepared all the rules and notified them. Basically, as it is a concurrent subject, it has to be notified by the states also. Many states except I think West Bengal and Lakshadweep, they have pre-notified the rules, and basically the negotiations and discussions are going on with the trade unions and other stakeholders, because it's a very big reform. It will take some time, but it is a reform in the positive direction, and it will the reform which will boost our Indian manufacturing sector, and it will also promote employees safety and security. But trade unions, there are some criticisms saying it may lead to hire and fire policies, but I think government is balancing and trying to take in everyone's concern and trying to address them. So that is the implementation status. So that's it from my side, friends. Thank you very much. I am Gopi Krishna from Glorious IAS Academy. Thank you.